And we're back for episode 7 of the Cashflow Corner, along with myself, Aaron Thomas, and my brother, Jacob.
Yeah, welcome in to all the listeners here. Episode number 7 of Cashflow Corner. Jacob Thomas here, and then like Aaron said, the other co-host and partner of Twin Lux Capital. But yeah, we're excited to get episode number 7 here underway. I know the past couple episodes, episode number 5, we had our first special guest on, Amanda Larson, and then episode number 6, which was a little more in depth about the current economic state of interest rates. So in that episode, you got a little more in-depth analyst of what Aaron and I were kind of forecasting or projecting of how we view the current economy and kind of how we see it playing out over the next 3 to 6, call it 12 months down the road here. So if that's something that you guys are a little more interested in listening to, definitely go back to that episode, check it out. Had some really good content there. But yeah, overall, just excited to get kicked off here. How are you feeling, Aaron?
I'm feeling great. Like you mentioned, we had a really good past couple episodes. We've had a lot of great feedback, so that's always nice. And really just excited to get some more content out to our listeners. I know we've had a little bit more ideas kind of off camera where we're trying to decide about which way to take the podcast and really what we want to do. And I think what we both came up with is really try to resonate with the listeners and more of the LP investors and passive investors as well. And I think that's easy for us since we are in that boat currently right now, even though we are moving more onto the GP side, but more from a limited partners perspective, I feel like could really help our listeners. And we're going to dive into some more of that later in this episode. But other than that, in terms of personal well-being, everything's going great. It was nice seeing some family recently. So that's always good to kind of take a moment, take a step back and realize where you're at and where you came from and all the progress that we've making so far and really where we've come from. I think was a huge little step back and a huge moment just to kind of take a reset and ready to get back after it and keep moving forward. So yeah, excited for what's ahead. And yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Like you said, it was nice, a nice little past weekend. Getting back to Michigan, spending some time with some family. We had the grandma's 85th birthday, so it was really nice to get everyone together for that. And then really just having that quality time with the family over the weekend, catching back up. I know it's been a little while since we've seen everyone, so it was nice to get that time and really kind of allow your brain to turn off and really take a step back, and it gives you that angle or that perspective of looking at the the overall bigger picture of exactly what Aaron and I have set out to do, and our goals and the mission that we have to pursuing on with this journey of not only the podcast, but digging our toes and digging our feet a little deeper into the world of commercial real estate as it revolves around the multifamily space. So, all things good on the personal side of things. And then, like you said, with the podcast, we had some bigger discussions about, kind of which route we want to take it for the content that we want to get across to the listeners. And really the best way, Aaron and I both kind of hit it on the head is we want to put ourselves in the shoes of the LP investors. And, that's something that we can definitely resonate with because, as you know, Aaron, we're LPs in a couple deals already, but we're looking to, take on that bigger goal of being a GP and putting the project or the investment from start to finish. So really excited to just carry this momentum forward as we get this podcast going and everything else that we've got going on.
Yeah, I think that was well said, and really just picking up where you left off. From a limited partners perspective, I know even if there are listeners tuning in that may be seasoned investors or someone that's never invested before, but that they're looking to diversify their portfolio possibly, or really just get into real estate investing and more focused on commercial real estate investing, particularly apartment syndication, I think is a huge focus. And really, if I were in their shoes and I was a listener right now, I think just going off couple of the biggest things that I would do, I would look for, and really what I would try to emulate going forward, I think is what we should try to focus on. But I think the biggest first key focus is to really educate yourself and get your knowledge and education up to par with certain standards, because that always helps. And I think the biggest benefit would be going over to our website at twinluxcapital.com and actually downloading our free ebook, which would help anyone, no matter if you're a seasoned investor or new investor. There's a lot of great information on there for real estate syndication projects and deals, and really just become more confident going into an investment deal, I think would be the first biggest key part that I would like to mention. And also in terms of education, just trying to do exactly what you're doing if you're doing this right now, of listening to podcasts, reading, just educating yourself as much as you can on commercial real estate investing, I think is a huge note to make as well. So I think those would be the two biggest things I would say for any LP investor to do right now if you are just starting off, or if you've been on the sidelines for a while, or even if you kind of want to just gain a little bit more confidence and a little more knowledge going into your next real estate syndication deal. I think those are the two biggest things that I would say you should do.
Yeah, Aaron, and to go off that and kind of just summarize or just, add on to that is ultimately what I was getting out of what you were saying there is, I love the idea of continuing the education, doing research, making sure you're diligent with the process of, the information that you're receiving, how you incorporate that, how you just overall, just how you learn and take things in. And I feel like, honestly, that's really one of the main goals of this podcast. We want to essentially take that guesswork or any of that uncertainty or any of those uncertain thoughts out of play. We just want to come in and alleviate that, take that guesswork out, because really what Aaron and I can personally kind of talk on this is getting into the world of real estate. It can humble you really, really quickly. Let me just kind of just start with that, because for somebody that might have the mindset of, hey, I know everything. I know everything that goes into investments, the financials, or the world of finance. You feel like you know everything. The one thing that I would urge people to do is getting into the world of real estate, getting into this space, if you're not familiar with it, if you're not a seasoned investor, it can definitely be a humbling process, because, with anything that you're learning or doing new for the first time, there's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be challenges that come along with trying to learn new things. And that would be my one key of, as you continue on with this podcast and as you continue to essentially educate and learn new things, is just be mindful of the fact that it is humbling. There is going to be challenges, but with a really good network and a lot of good people around you, like Aaron and I and some different professionals in the industry, that is really the best way to essentially build yourself up and, get through those uncomfortable growing pains of going through that initial stage of trying to, put your first foot down and go through that process. So it all comes back to just trying to support yourself with really good people, getting some really good education from those people, and just essentially pulling all that together to, create hopefully a really good future.
Yeah, so that would kind of be my next main point, which would be to really focus on your network, like you mentioned, and really connect with other investors and potential syndicators, such as people like me and Jacob, or if you know anyone else that is currently involved in commercial real estate syndication deals, or let's say you're following investors on social media or anything like that. It's definitely great to connect with like-minded individuals like that, just because a lot of those individuals either know of potential new deals that are going to be coming out soon and could possibly get you involved in those, but they're also great with just setting up or putting out networking conferences or real estate meetups. I think is another key focus, because just going to those helps accumulate so much knowledge and so much confidence going into the commercial real estate world. it really helps you get that foot down and really give you the confidence to dive into a commercial real estate syndication deal. So I think that's always a great benefit, as well as for with connecting with individuals like that, because once you're going to these conferences or meetups or just doing your own due diligence and research, you're going to figure out that there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many syndicators. There's so many deals that are going on across the country, but there's also so many different kind of strategies and different focuses and niches that certain groups or certain individuals may have. And you just want to find the niche or strategy or certain individual that you connect and relate most with, so that you can be involved in deals that they're involved in as well, that meet your criteria, that you're comfortable with, and ultimately that where you want to put your money and where you want to invest your capital, I think, is the biggest thing, because you don't have to force your way into any specific deal until you know that it's the right deal for you and that you feel confident, I think, is the biggest thing. And really, that comes from that same networking that you were mentioning about, Jacob, because I don't think anyone feels 100% comfortable until they're actually connecting with a like-minded individual that they believe have similar interests or they're on a similar pathway as, or even just someone that they're looking up to and someone they want to be like. So I think that's always a great point, because it gives you a little boost of confidence and of energy of saying to yourself, okay, I feel good about this, so does this group of individuals, and this person that I've been talking to for a while, and everything's kind of coming to fruition of my knowledge and confidence being at the right level where, okay, I can jump in and commit capital to this deal and invest in it for the long term. And I think that's a huge step. Whenever you can really put yourself in that situation, you're setting yourself up for greatness in the future. And just getting more people to that benchmark and to that finish line is really where a lot of our time and energy comes from, and where we get the most out of this podcast is getting people to that line, because we want to see people end up getting to that finish line, because once you're involved in one deal, you're going to see how great it works out for you, and you're going to want to invest in 10 others just like it, and you're not going to want to stop. And that's really what we're trying to push and focus on, is just to get people to that point. And I feel like that's what really gets us excited. And I think that's where that next step involves limited passive investors and what they should focus on is.
No, yeah, Aaron, you made so many really good points. Transitioning off of having this network of people, and the one idea I want to go back to that stuck with me the most there is being able to find your niche, because when you come into the world of real estate, it can be a little overwhelming with the amount of options or routes or roads that you can go down, because obviously you have single family homes of wholesalers, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, corporate rentals, and then you get into the space of more of the commercial side of having office spaces, multifamily, self-storage, trailer park homes. It goes on and on. So it can get a little confusing of if you're trying to learn a little bit of everything about the whole space as a whole. So like you said about finding that niche, go down one path, narrow in your focus. That way you can really start to absorb the information and the research that you're doing within that particular space. And it just so happens that Aaron and I really fell in love with the multifamily space of having options to do value adds, get into different unit sizes. So it really provides a good mix of investment opportunities. And I guess I'll go back to you, Aaron. How did you kind of really, I guess, fall in love with or get into the niche of the multifamily space? What sticks out to you in particular about this particular investment vehicle?
Yeah, so I think everyone at some form or another understands real estate form of residential real estate, where someone needs somewhere to stay, someone needs somewhere to live, And ultimately, most people know that in terms of residential real estate, but in terms of commercial real estate, it ends up being it's the same thing. It's just amping it more to the commercial real estate side of apartments. It's the same thing, but just bigger numbers. And I think some people that get stuck in residential real estate try to build it up one by one, let's say one house by one house, until they kind of a small portfolio of 3 to 4 houses, where ultimately you can jump into an apartment real estate syndication deal and 4 times that whatever that portfolio may be in just one deal. And I think that's a huge note to make is people may get stuck in certain ideas or beliefs. But for me, like the question that you asked of really how I got started in apartments and how I got down this path is I think for myself and a lot of people, it's the easiest real estate investment strategy to really wrap your head around and understand, because there are other real estate investments, like you mentioned, like office buildings, warehouses, in terms of being industrial or self storage, trailer parks, like you said, which trailer parks are almost, I know a lot of people have been getting into those because it is similar to apartments in terms of everyone needs somewhere to live. And I feel like that's something that, or a basis that a lot of people do go off of in terms of real estate, is they know, okay, someone always needs somewhere to live. And in terms of land, there's not, no one's making any more. So if you can grab as much as you can and get people to live there, that's ultimately how you're going to succeed. But in terms of apartments, I feel like it just makes the most sense financially for a long-term period. It is the safest, most achievable way, like I've mentioned before, to really achieve financial freedom and wealth than in terms of office buildings, where we now see, okay, are companies actually going back to work? Are people going to be in those? Or are office buildings going to be now converted into apartments? Or industrial, it's more working with companies to really lease those buildings out. Same with strip centers and everything like that. It's, instead of working with people who need places to live, they need places to really occupy and run their business. So it's a different way of really kind of going about the real estate process, and just the strategy of who you're going to be targeting to occupy your building. But ultimately, once I saw what apartment syndication deals, what their returns are, really just how the process is of underwriting and how well it flows and breaks down for a lot of people, I think it's easy to understand. And once you get a full grasp of that, I think, like we've mentioned before, and like, haven't I heard about this sooner, and why have I not gotten started sooner? And you just want to take that full dive in. And I feel like that's the biggest leap of faith that a lot of our listeners, I feel like, want to take and need to take.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the reason why I find the multifamily space so interesting is on a couple different aspects of, like you mentioned, from the LP standpoint, who doesn't love some good returns and some good tax benefits? So obviously, we've covered those on other episodes, but from the LP standpoint, those are, tremendous benefits. But the way I view it from, our shoes now of being in the GP role, Aaron, is going back to that idea of having that strategy of having different strategic options within the multifamily space, because people view it as, let's say you come in and buy an apartment complex, people want to say, just, hey, go in, raise rents, you increase your value, everyone's happy. But it doesn't always go that way, especially when you're looking at different classes of properties. You're going to want to look for certain opportunities to come in and add value, whether that's through a CapEx expenditure of updating, whether that's appliances, cabinets, whatever the case may be inside those units, or, you can go the strategic route of simply coming in and trying to improve on the operations business model side of things of, let's say, the old asset management team maybe wasn't operating the property up to its fullest potential. So coming in and being able to maybe, let's say, reduce cost on some different operational costs. So there's a lot of gives and takes. There's a lot of different strategies involved of how you can ultimately optimize and fulfill and reach the full potential of a property. So as I've gone throughout my journey, initially I saw those benefits from the LP's standpoint, but then really what made me fall in love with the whole process is being able to go through those different strategies of, hey, this will work best on this property, this will work better here, and really just continuing to learn and go throughout that process has got me excited.
Yeah, I think that was great. And really, from what we've been talking about from a limited partners perspective and passive investor, what I would encourage our listeners most is just to, like we said, if you haven't been doing it yet, I mean, of really starting, you start off by educating yourself. And if you're listening to this podcast, then you are on the right path and you're starting at a good point. And then from there, like I mentioned, either you should grab our free ebook, which is a short read on our website at twinluxcapital.com. And I think that would be very beneficial just to give yourself a little bit more knowledge and information and really build up your confidence of going into a real estate syndication deal and just educate yourself. And then from there, reach out to investors or syndicators like ourselves who may know of potential deals, can help talk you through certain aspects of investing. If you have any questions, just find like-minded individuals that you can have conversations with. And then from there, start doing your due diligence. Try to just talk to as many people as you can. Research. I know there's deals always online. If you are portals or investor lists and you start getting those deals coming your way, just start looking through them. And if it's something that you may have a question on, we would love to talk over deals with you. We love talking over deals with our investors. It's one of the most things that we get the most excitement out of. So I think if you can do those three things of educating yourself, connecting with like-minded individuals, and then doing due diligence on possible real estate syndication deals and future opportunities, if you can do those three things, you will be set up to put yourself in a great position to then take that next step of officially investing in commercial real estate syndication deals. And like I said, once you get that first deal going, there's going to be no turning back, and you're going to be hopefully thanking us in the future. And I think that's what we're most excited about. So yeah, I think that's a great spot to leave off for today.
Yeah, no, I love it. That was a really good breakdown of kind of what somebody from an LP's standpoint should do throughout the process of educating yourself, getting together with a community of like-minded people, like you said. And honestly, for us, Aaron, and for people that are listening right now, kind of wanted to save this till the end of the show here, but we are going to soon start the process of reaching out to investors within our community. So if you haven't already, go on to our website at twinluxcapital.com. Drop in your information there. That way you're involved within our community and you're getting all the updates that Aaron and I send out on a weekly basis. But we're getting really excited here to continue building this momentum of hopefully getting a deal here under our belt. And I know that process will go quickly. So, we don't want anyone to feel like they're left behind or not getting information. So as I mentioned, go back to our website, twinluxcapital.com, like I mentioned. Put your information there, because really once this momentum and once this train gets rolling, we don't want to leave anyone behind. And other than that, I feel like this was a pretty good spot to wrap up today's episode. We thank you guys for continuing to listen in on this journey with us on this podcast. And as always, make sure you guys are liking, following, sharing all our social media content as well. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.